Welcome learner, my name is Shibaji Debnath. In this tutorial I will be talk about very interesting topic of Flutter GetX package, and you already seen so many tutorials in my channel, and now I talk about how can consume the data through the API endpoints and how can present that data in our application like this, and in this tutorial I will be talk about that. So here I create a brand new project with Flutter command. So first we are create FLUTTER Flutter create, and then we can create a application with the GetX API app. So actually here capital letter does not working. So for that purpose we need to be here create with the lowercase for app creation. So GetX API app. So this is the application folder name or project name. So right now this project are created. After that we go to the GetX API app project, and now we need to be open project on my VS Code. So this time it is open in my VS Code editor, and it is completely brand new application which is already created. And right now I did not have any structure in this project directory. So now our project already created, and right now I just open a terminal from the VS Code panel, and after that we need to be set up GetX CLI command line for get project initialization. Okay, because in this time I use get CLI command for application project initialization process. So for that purpose we can go to the packages section, and here we can search about the GetX, and after that we can see so many packages here. So this GetX CLI package need to be installed as a global. So this is the command which is actually required to set up the GetX package for application development process, because we need to be use this particular command, get command actually required. So for that purpose can create with this. So this is the dependency part, and once it set up then the package already initialized, and after that we can use the command executable command which is get or getx, whatever you want to use. So this is the get command, and after that we can see so many commands after installing this package. Okay, and once it installed then we need to be use git init, because git initialize is required to generate our application and structure to built with GetX structure, because GetX is a micro framework in between Flutter framework. Okay, so actually Flutter framework are help us to create multi-platform application, but GetX help us to create or manage application been faster than normal Flutter app development process. Okay, so for that purpose we need to be use this particular package create our application. So here I have two type of pattern. I just use the GetX pattern, and then here have so many options already there, so I did not changes anything. So my project structure almost set up properly. So this is the actually structure, and this is the main file. And so main.dart structure is created, and this is actually Flutter GetX application structure, basic boilerplate app, whatever you can say. So this is the actually main part. So main is the starter file, and after that we can see so many things. So first is the module, default module. We can see home module or home page. So this is the home screen module, and after that we can see the data part, which actually required to get the data from the server API. Okay, in the test part we can see some problem. So if you get this kind of problem, so for that purpose this is the actually my app are looking. So my app is not actually created in this current project directory, because they have GetX material app previously when I initialize this application command. So after that they remove all the codes which is actually created previously. So for that purpose this particular thing are not available right now. But if you want to remove this particular problems from the test file, so for this purpose you can create another application through this way, and here you can create my app like this, and it is almost solve the problem, because here already my app is created, and this my app are get this particular application starter part from here. It will not give you any problem, so you can use it as per your problem solve if you want. So after initialize you can see all the structure like this, and after that if you want to play or start your application, so for that purpose if you want to application for the devices, like here have so many devices are available because I am working with Mac OS. So for that purpose Mac OS app will run by default if I did not open any other virtual environment or simulator. So by default Mac OS will be start initially. Okay, so let's see. So I just open it as a run without debugging because this time I did not stack, I do not want to stack anywhere. So for that purpose I just run without debugging like this. So once I open, so you can see by default macOS debug mode are open quickly. So currently my application built with the macOS operating system. So my macOS app already initialized, and so my macOS app already initialized, and I set up it as a mobile interface. Okay, so right now it is look like mobile interface, and this time if I want to opt this particular banner, so here I have so very easiest way debug, so checked as a false, and after that we cannot see anything here. Okay, once it already done, then we can go to the data consuming process. So now we can go to the terminal part, and now we need to be consume the data in this particular area. Okay, so I do not create any other UI, just I want to explain how can consume the data from the API. So for that purpose I do not focus any UI part, just I focus how can consume the data from the API endpoints. Okay, so right now once again run the get command because we want to see how our command are work. Once I start the get command, and there after that we can see get create or another command, and after that we need to be create a provider. This provider will working for our application API consuming purpose. So if you want to consume the data through the API, so GetX give you the options which is called provider. So right now we can use get create vi pro vi dir provider, and right now I create this provider for the home page module or home module. So for that purpose I just name it home. So first is a get command, after that I create another command, also we can create the provider, and then I create for home command. Okay, so this time I can create home provider, and this is the home provider where we can see in the get connect option. So this is the get connect is a class which is provided by the GetX framework or GetX developer. This particular class give us to accessible the data very easily without any other dependency. Okay, so for this purpose we can use it with our get framework. Okay, once it is already done, then you can remove this particular part from here because this time it is does not record, and this time I just simply create final string base URL. So this time I just simply create the base URL like this, and this is the data consuming from the JSON placeholder type code. It is the actually first API. Okay, which is want to see how can see the data here from this particular API endpoints. So we can use this particular URL, or we can also use product API URL also. So I just click fix store API to use our product consuming purpose, and this is actually okay for us. And now I just get the product response. So this time if you want to get the product response directly, for that purpose you can create the data future because it's come from the server response. So when we get the server response, so for that purpose we always use in Flutter as future. So this is the future, and also we get the object of response, and this is the method of get data. Okay, so this time you can see this is the actually path which are actually uses here. Okay, but if you are write this way in your application, so it will not work in the current version 4.7.2 if you are using. So this time it will not be work properly. So for that purpose you just simply remove it from here. Okay, and because I just simply use the base URL first, so this is the base URL. Actually this base URL are overridden when I clicking here because this base URL already have in the get connect class. So for that purpose here is recommend override annotations can be used for this particular purpose. So if I use here, so here we can use the override syntax. So after that it will not completing any time. So this is the actually basic part which is actually can be used. Okay, now our data already set up, it's simple, but after this we can integrate this particular home provider object to create here. So this time I just simply create the home provider object in this section. So first we can create the home PROVIDR provider object, and this time just we use the home provider like this. Okay, and once it created, after that this all the things does not required except on init. So only we need on init function are required, because when our application are initialized, so that time these particular functions are automatically calling when this class are initialized. So for that purpose only these particular functions are required, or we do not require any other function. So right now I just simply create another function which call future, but this time we need to get a list of product, because here we need to be initialize list of product like this, and this is the get product options through this way. So how can do that? Because this time this product are not available, this product in this product class is not available. So how can create this type model to consume the data? Because if you are knowledge in data consuming part for the Flutter process, so when we are get the data or present that data in our Flutter application, so all the time we need to be create DAO model, because DAO is the database access object. So data access object need to be create with the class model. So this time we need to be create a class with the data object. So this is the actually data which is actually object. So this time this particular data will be consuming in our application. So for this time I just copy this data, and after that I just simply set up a folder. I set up a folder here. So right now we just create a folder path call assets, and after that we can create a JSON folder in this asset folder, because maybe you have so many JSON structure or product table need to be created. So for that purpose you can create like this way to save your product data like this way. Okay, once you save your data in your local directory, and after that you need to be convert this JSON data as a class model. So how can create that? So here I am using a very easiest way to create this JSON to Dart object with the JSON serialize. Okay, so how can use that? For that purpose, here in the VS Code we can find out a plugins called JSON to Dart. So JSON to Dart already seen here. So this is the JSON to Dart model, is a plugins which is required to create the JSON to Dart model easily from the JSON data. Okay, so this is the JSON data, and this particular plugins will help us to create the data. So before we create the model, so now we can create a folder called model here in the app folder. After that you need to select all the JSON data from here, and after that from the keyboard you can create Ctrl Shift P, and after that when we are using Ctrl Shift P from your keyboard, and then you can see this kind of command panel which is required. So once you get this type of command panel, and then you can create your data name like product data class or data class name is a product, and after that it will be JSON serialized, right? And then we can use it as a Dart file, and immutable class you can use it as a yes or no, it does not problem. You can use it as a same no. So now once it create, this time in this particular model folder we can create the model file here. So this time when we are create this particular folder, so this time it's called build runner does not have in our application structure, because this particular build runner package are required to install in our application. So for that purpose this is the command which is actually required. So this time I actually wanted to see this package already installed here or not. So this time this particular package does not install yet. So at this moment I need to be use setup. So for that purpose go to the Flutter application section, and this is the Flutter documentation page, and this time I just convert the data JSON to Dart file. So for that purpose here is the data consuming section, and here is the serialization process. You can be see the tutorial from this particular sections, and here have some recommendations how can we create the JSON data consuming from the API. So in your application you need to be add this particular line to be create this application to activate. So once it added in your application project, after created, you can see these JSON annotations are added, and build runner JSON serializable, these two things also added as a dev dependency. So these three things are required to create the model. Okay, once it created, once it actually used, then you can see the all data like this way. So this is the actually thing, and this product.g model are not created. Actually this JSON file, JSON data structure already created, but product from JSON, this particular file not be created because it is the part of model part. This time I can remove this particular product model folder from my project first, and after that we can open the product.json from our panel, and then now copy, not copy, select all the code from here, and then same thing, we just need to create JSON to Dart right now, and then you can create product cluster like this, and it is also JSON serialized. No, 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 and then we can create the models folder, and now it will be create the, now it will generate our model class easily as per our requirement. Understand all the schema, and then it will be create the product model as per our API endpoint. So this is our API endpoint data where we can see the ID, title, price, description. So here we can see all the things here, but this rating part is another type of object. So for that purpose, rating class created with another object creation for the another object creation purpose. So this is the rating is the another class which are created here also. Okay, so every type of data created here, and we can see all the things. Now our command line process or thing are already created, and this time not required to see anything here. So now we go to the controller section, and this controller section will be created for the product consuming purpose. So for that purpose I just simply calling this particular product, and now when I create the product part, so this time I just simply calling it like this way, and of course I call it as a async mode. And before that I just simply create list of product like this product, and it's called PRODUCTS product like this way. Okay, so once I create it, then we can get the response from the provider part, because this time we can get the response provide from here. Okay, so first we need to be see what kind of product response we are getting from our product. So this time I just remove our problem from here, because this time I seen some problems in our project folder. So this time I just see remove the all the problems, and just we are seeing how data coming in our application. So this is the part where we can see the data. So home provider have get the future data response, and this response are stored in the response variable, and after response variable data need to be check out it is coming or not. So if you want to check your data, so for that purpose you just simply use print, and you can see the response data from your print response body. Okay, so after using this you can open in the terminal section and go to the debug console, and here is the debug console. Okay, and once you are using this particular thing get product section, so this get product section need to be calling in this hooks, because this is the on init is a hook function, so need to be calling this particular function here. Okay, so once I click here, so after loading we are not seeing any kind of data right now, right? Because if it is okay, but we are not seeing any value. So just check it once. So home response. Okay, so just we confirm it load when I initialize application or not. So this is the actually process when I try to initialize, but this time this home controller are calling here, but this controller object does not calling in our UI part. Basically this is the UI part, and this time we need to be initialize the, we want to see the data in this location. So for that purpose we need to be create final home controller like this, and here we can call the home controller, and when I call it as like this way, so after that this const function give us trouble or some error problem. So after initialize this way, it is the dependency process. When you are create a controller as dependency, so this is the controller as a dependency, home controller dependency, and this controller already created. And once you created it, so we can see another problem because this is a non-constant property, and this particular problems comes from this particular section. So for that purpose we also remove const property from here. Okay, so once you create here, and after that maybe this problem will be solved. So controller are initialized here. When I initialize this way, so that time this particular product part are initialized through this process. Okay, so for that purpose this time we did not get any proper response actually. So this time here, if we want to get the body data, so here we have body string like this, and once I create it like this, so after that we can see the data. So now here we can see the value null check operator used for null value. That means when we get null data, so that time we can use null value operator. But actually this data is not be stable, maybe it coming or not, because this particular string have optional process. So for that purpose we can use it to remove the problem. But this is the actually problem which are seen here actually, but this time this response data does not working properly. So we need to be check out the provider section, and this provider section need to be understand this data properly coming or not. So sometimes you did not get any proper idea why give this kind of problem or why not getting the data properly from your endpoints. So that time you can debug your data through this way. So this is the actually thing when you are not getting properly data from your endpoint. So just use var response like this, and then send this response like this way, send the get response from this way. So we can check out from here also. So this time I just try to see what kind of problem may be getting from here. So here just check the status text like this, and from here we can observe what kind of problem we actually getting from here. So this time OS error. Okay, so this particular problem means actually when we are live the data, so this is the actually build our application through this way. So here we are not getting the data properly because here have some restricted option, because here have some restriction, API data not consuming from the server side. So for that purpose we are getting this kind of error. So this is the error actually seen. When you get this kind of error, after that you just need to be set up some setting. So once you getting this type of problem, so you just simply copy the code, and then you can just simply paste your code in the search engine, and after that you maybe get some option like this. Okay, so this is the actual problem which is actually need to be initialized set up in your application part. So this is the macOS runner and debug profile entitlement. So this is the debug, and here is the setup is to be added this two line. Okay, so I already add this two line in my project, and once it's set up, then you can close your current application, and after that once your application is closed, then you need to be rerun your application. So right now I just rerun my application from here. Okay, so this time we can see the response. Okay, so this time we are getting the response. Okay, so that means this time we can get the data properly. Okay, once we are get the data properly, so that means his response is okay. So I just wanted to see is okay there or not. So is okay. So then we can set the list, and this time we decode the data from the endpoint first. So this time we can use the response data, and this time we can simplify the product data like this. And after that, once we get the data, then we use this data list object, and this data object actually dynamic list, and this dynamic list are initialized with the product object. So this is the product object conversion way, and now once it product conversions are completed, then we can see the data like this. Okay, but here I have another thing. Here we can create need to be another list. Here we can create var products like this object we need to be create. because this is the actually observable state which are required to initialize the data. So once our data initialized, so after that this data are set up here. Okay, so this time here just I am using async. Okay, so this async are required to initialize the data in the product object. Okay, so once it actually set up properly, then we can get the data, we can set up our UI in this section. Now I just convert the UI as per our requirement. So right now I just click it, change it with the list view. List view builder are uses to get the data through this way. So this is the actually controller, and this is the controller object, and this controller object are set up like, and this time I just simply use the list view object, and where we can see only title, and this title can be used like this. Okay, so once I set up it, then we can already see all the product data through this way. Okay, and if you want to use some image part, so here can also use the product image or product ID like this. Okay, but if I want to use the product image here, so for that purpose we can use the image from the image network, and this is the product image where we can see all the products as list view. Okay, so this is the list view, we can see all the products. But if you want to convert this particular data as a grid view, so after in this way you can change it as a grid view. So grid view builder is required, and then it is some basic thing which is by default have two properties are required, which is the grid delegate, and here we need to be silver grid delegate with fixed cross access count, and cross access count is 2. That means 2 grid will be show in our application. So this is the actually thing, and now we need to be data simplify use for it. Okay, so this time we can see the data like, okay, so this is the actually data where we can see the card view, and now in this card view we just simply add the column section for this way, and now just we set up the image property, and once I set up the image property here, now we can see or use flexible, so this time can be visualized properly, and after that can simply give some padding. Actually this padding does not helpful here, just wrapping the padding with over the image, so we are using the padding over the image, so after that we can see all the data. Okay, actually this is the problem when data is not coming, so that time also you fill some blank data with some blank data. So for that particular purpose is a particular time it give us the problem to see the data. Actually before loading the data our object does not initialize properly, so this endless loop are going here. So for that purpose we need to be initialize item list length. So this is the actually requirement, because here only seen which data is available. Okay, another problem is actually this data is a observable object data. Okay, that means we need to be observe the data. So here I am not creating any observable consumer process. So for this purpose I just simply use the observable process like OBX. This particular things are missing, so I do not know how it run before, because without observable process data consuming not possible, so I don't know how it run before. So it is the actual proper way when you are calling the product data through the observable object. So of course you need to be use this particular function to get the data from the observable state, because this data comes from the API from this provider portion, and after that provider part unwrapping the data with the product object class, and this is the actually product object class where unwrapping the JSON object to product class object, and this product class object are initialize the product observable data observable object, and this observable object when need to be consumed, so that time we need to be observe the consumer with this particular function, and this will be uses as a pre-builder function when it is initialized. So it is actually first need to be initialized, then we can set up all the things. So this is the actually proper correct data which I'll seen here, and this is the actually thing. You already see the tutorial, and this time you are not getting any kind of error. So I think you get the proper understanding how can consume the data from the server. And here get so many things I already try to explain every details, which part of things are required and when it required, what kind of problem you may get in your application consuming process. So I think everything will be helpful when you work with GetX API. Okay, so I will be meet with you next video with the new interesting topic. Okay, so stay with me and definitely subscribe my channel to encourage myself to create new videos.